Hi, how's it going? This is Resin of Conlord for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys. Today marks the anniversary of when Barnabas Collins first debuted, April 18th, 1967, played by actor Jonathan Frid. There's, there's so much to really say and get into, but, eh, you know, for those who aren't familiar with Dark Shadows, Barnabas Collins, he when he's released out of his coffin, it's again, it's by pure happenstance. It's by accident in many ways, and it's one of the most. When I say accident, I don't mean Willie Loomis is looking for the jewels by accident. No, he's looking to rob a grave for sure. But played by John Carlin, it just you can see that he has this pulley system attached to Naomi, the lid of Naomi Collins's grave, and or coffin, if you will, and he attaches it to the lion's mouth, the hook, and he's trying to pull on that to get the lid to pop up, and that doesn't work. But what does begin to happen is you see the ring begin to move, and the mausoleum opened up. And Willie's even shocked by this. He was not expecting this. I've sort of touched upon this before, but why not touch upon it now? I mean, we are on the anniversary of Barnabas debuting, after all, and without Jason, Brent, and Willie, Barnabas doesn't get out, right? So here's Willie Loomis. He comes into town. He's working for Jason. He After a fist fight with Burke, he starts looking into the family jewels. A little bit before that, actually, but it more intensifies after that. Um, but he he once he goes into the mausoleum, I said what he does, and here's this chained coffin, right? He figures, man, that there's jewels in there. There's gotta be the family jewels, the money. It's gotta be in there, right? And in a sense, Barnabas was buried with jewelry. I mean, right? He figures he could just steal it. And my friends, Willie Loomis is in for a huge rude awakening. Yeah, there's jewels, but there's a person in there who opens his eyes and grabs Willie by the throat. John, enter Jonathan Frid. He comes to Collinwood all with new clothes, and says he's a cousin from England, and history was made. I mean, really, what a character! His portrayal of this character is amazing. I'm going to get into some of my favorite moments, and moments that I feel that, and some really underrated moments too, from Barnabas and Fred in general. I think you guys know what my favorite moment is, and I'll save that one for last because I've talked about that one a bunch. For those who know, you guys I think know what that one is. Um, it involves Josette's portrait, obviously, yes. Um, so one of the most, I think, underrated moments is actually during the Adam arc. When we're keep in mind, originally Barnabas believes that he is going to be in a new body. That literally he's not going to be in this body anymore. He's going to literally be in a new body. So he tells Victoria about his cousin Adam, and to expect him and stuff, and really, when I'm watching Fred perform this, it's in many ways he's happy, but also you sort of sense a sadness that, hey, he's not going to be in this body anymore. This is his natural body. He's literally going to, to him, he's going to be in a whole nother body. And obviously that doesn't happen, but just the performance by Fred, when he's talking to Alexander Moltke-Isles' character is really great, and he's just selling this new first of all a new character, his emotion of he's a bit happy, but I also sense that again because he has to give up his actual physical body, he feels that he's gonna have to give up his physical body for this to happen. It's like in my opinion, you sort of sense a bit of sadness from it's like because again, who it's not just who Victoria Winters is used to, it's who's everyone else used to. Him, Barnabas. They're used to talking to him. And now, he knows it's not just an adjustment for him, it's an adjustment for them. And I do right here, it's just a great emotional scene, I think, in my opinion, by Fred and by Alexander Moltke-Isles together talking, again, his cousin Adam. Now, obviously, if you know the Adam arc, you know that doesn't happen. It doesn't go down that exact way because Fred Fred doesn't body swap here. He doesn't go into Adam his some of his life force, and it causes Jonathan Fred's character to not be a vampire anymore. But if Adam were to die, Barnabas would go back to what he was, which is a vampire. I love Adam survives a jump off Widow's Hill. Man, give Robert Rodan credit. That that is a feat in itself. I mean, how many people have gone off that hill and just not survived? How many characters they went over the hill and they have not come back? And Robert Rodan's character, he comes back for sure. I give him credit. Again, amazing scene. Another, I think, underrated scenes are just the scenes between him and Humbert Allen Australia when he's when Humbert's Nicholas Blair. I mean, just really solid stuff. We've seen him interact with Laura Parker in 1795, so we know their chemistry is going to be solid with him and Cassandra. But really, just the amazing interaction between him and Humbert, and they were just so on. I mean, they clicked really well, and I love their chemistry. Though the characters are enemies and they don't like one another, they're not supposed to. You know what I mean? They're not friends here, but the chemistry is just so good. It's criminally underrated, really, how great they are, and I love the fact that here's Barnabas again. The reason they're creating Eve for Adam is as much for Nicholas as anything else to sort of serve Nicholas. And I love the interaction between Fred and Humphrey and all the dialogue they have. Really, when you see Nicholas's destruction, that smile across Fred's face, you're so understanding it. It's like I'm with you. Like finally you get to see what this guy get what he deserves, and you're happy he gets it. And it's amazing. I think it's one of the most underrated Barnabas scenes, by Fred. Ever, not all time, but it's great. There's a lot of good scenes too that when I really love the interaction between Jonathan Fred and gosh, Anthony George when he's Jeremiah Collins. You can really tell you know they that the characters cared for each other, and Anthony George and Jonathan Fred do a great job of that. And then the one of the best sequences to me too in 1795 is before the duel is when they're going back and forth and Fred takes the glove and smacks him across the face. it's one of those moments you go, oh shit, this is gonna happen. They're gonna duel, and you know, it's one of those moments you're going, oh my gosh, think about it. You up until this point, you have not seen two people literally duel in Dark Shadows, and literally this is now going to happen. A duel, a duel, and I know it's sort of, you could say it's sort of hinted in the '60s when Fritz says he treats her like a duel. Okay, I get that, but the way it goes down is just so, again, great acting. I mean, I sort of was touching upon this with Kara and Christine from Between the Shadows. Shout out to them. That you don't. It feels like that with Dark Shadows, actors really not just practice their craft, but honed it. They knew how to work their craft. They really did. And it just feels like such a lost art nowadays. You just don't see this too much anymore. And when you do, you just want to hold on to it and appreciate it for so much, so much more. And I love this. I love the take him Fred taking the glove as Barnabas and smacking him. It's so good. No, the duel doesn't look great, but still, the stuff prior and even the stuff afterwards when Jeremiah's laying there in the bed dying, when Fred's Barnabas goes up to Josette and he doesn't say a word. My God, it's just so good. It's amazing. Another one too is when you really look at when Barnabas first comes out of the coffin, when he goes, we all know the knock at the door. The link to that one in the description box. And, keep in mind, prior to that knock on the door, what's Mrs. Johnson doing? She's complaining about no one hands up a thing around here. And then you hear the knock at the door. It's like, oh, who's that? And here, I love how they shoot this. And really, what really sets us up beautifully too is not just the sequence of Willie, them showing Willie opening the coffin, but Alexander Moltke's eyes about a, a stranger who is not a stranger, Eh, really just great stuff. And the interaction between him, Jonathan, and Joan, and then Jonathan and Alexander, it's really just great. It's criminally underrated. I'm going to get into the other stuff too here later on. But another one too is when you really look at Barnabas Collins, Jonathan Fritz character as a whole. I know they've talked, many have said, well, the writers did not know what, you know, where they were taking Barnabas. Sorry for stuttering. And I get that, I do, but at times, and I'm not saying they made that up, but when you look at the when Barnabas first comes and arrives, it's like, well, they may not know exactly where they want to take the character, sure, but it's not like they're laying all the cards on the table either. Which I like. Again, I get he kidnaps Maggie, and I'm about to get into that here. But it's like, okay, you get the effect of Maggie looks like Josette. They really lay that across to you here that I'm gonna get to my favorite scene now. My favorite. I was trying to save it for last, but I can't now. My favorite scene ever with Barnabas is when he's talking to Josette's portrait. When he first comes out, he goes to the old house and David is jumping off the steps. And David jumps and he lands and he's laying there. He looks like he might have hurt himself. the doors open, and what there's Barnabas, and David thinks he's a ghost, and we know he's not, and David finally realizes he's not a ghost, and he explains to Barnabas that he talks to ghosts, and his favorite ghost to talk to is Josette. Josette Collins. He and Barnabas says our ancestor from over 100 years ago. Okay, great acting. Again, great craftsmanship by Fred Hennessy. Just amazing. And that's what I love about Dark Shadows too. The craftsmanship of the acting is so damn great. It's awesome. Just amazing. And David tells Barnabas, "Oh, if you were Collins, she would help you. She would protect you." And he said he'll try to remember that. And then David leaves and goes back to Collinwood. And now, when they go back to Jonathan Fred's Barnabas, he's standing in the old house. He's still standing in that drawing room. He turns and he looks at the picture and he says, "I was a Collins. Where were you when I was turned into something even my own father loathed? If his ghost is here with yours, tell him I've come home, and the chains he bound me with are broken." It's it's so full of emotion. I've talked about how Barnabas is like no other vampire up until this point. I've never heard a vampire talk like this. It was so different. It was so full of emotion and passion. You look, I've talked about I knew what Barnabas was. I knew when I saw Jonathan Fritz Barnabas, I knew he was a vampire. When the hand came out of the coffin, by the time I seen Dark Shadows, I'd seen Bela Lugosi, I'd seen Christopher Lee. So I knew that, hey, this is a vampire. But once he starts talking to people and then he talks to Josette's portrait, it's like, yeah, he is, but he's like no other vampire I've seen. He really he's so different. He he's not just a vampire. By God, he's human. He has a soul. This isn't just some soulless monster. And right there, that interaction with that portrait showed me that it helped me understand that for of that character. And I know, you know, I get the writers didn't know where they were going to take him, but right there, it sort of feels like they're sort of trying to tell you, hey, it, this character isn't what he seems. He's not. He may not be the monster we're trying to make him out to be, or he may be. It's up to you. Again. They're sort of, I think, subconsciously, in my opinion, they're somewhat pulling a Val Luton. They're leaving it up to you. They're leaving it up to the audience. And again, Fred's acting is amazing. He sells his ass off. And again, just the interaction with the cast. It's my one of my favorite scene is that one. So sorry for filling that early. And this gets into the Maggie Evans kidnapping. So it helped once he kidnaps her, and you see her in Josette's dress. You get it. You get that. Okay, Barnabas knows Josette. We've seen him interact with the portrait. We know he knew her. And this lets me know, oh my God, he was in love with her. You know, he was in love with her. Whether you realize, they were meant to be married or not, you can at least let, you're to the understanding of Barnabas was in love with Josette. So you could question out, did Jeremiah know? And now, again, it sort of starts to unravel a bit here. Not completely. Again, they're not laying all the cards on the table, but they're laying just enough to pique your interest, to keep you coming back. And the acting, it helps that so much. And I love Catherine Lee Scott's when she has the music box and she goes, "I'm Maggie M," and slams the lid shut, and it's like, oh no. Did I ever believe that Barnabas was ever gonna kill Maggie? Nope. I never thought he was gonna kill her, and I don't think he was going to. If he was going to kill her, he had plenty of opportunity to do it, and he doesn't. And even, you know, shout out to Patrick, my buddy Patrick McCrae. He had pointed out about how Barnabas, once he hears Maggie's dead, he sort of gives this look like, "Oh, I've effed up." He does, and I'll add to that. There's a scene once everybody knows everyone's been told Maggie's dead and believes it. John Carlin, he might as well be Jimmy Cricket at this point because he is all but on Jonathan's shoulder, Barnabas's shoulder. Barnabas, we killed that girl. We killed her. Think about their relationship up until this point. Barnabas has had no problem hitting Willie at a moment's notice, or not even a moment's notice, choking Willie. He has had no problem beating Willie. You know, again. So here's Willie in his ear almost, telling, "Hey Barnabas, we killed that girl." And Fred's face is like, he doesn't say words, but he sort of with his face is like, "Yeah, I know." And it's like, but when he turns, he doesn't choke Willie, he doesn't hit him, he doesn't, push him down. That's the moment I go, you feel bad for what you think you did. Holy shit. Like, it really dawns upon you that, hey, yeah, this guy, again, he has a soul. Again, sympathetic vampire is, to me, the groundwork isn't laid in 1795. To me, it's laid in the 60s. It's laid in 1967 before it's laid in 1795, in my opinion. Um, and it's laid beautifully, by Fred, by the writers, whether subconsciously or not. It's there. It's not there. It's definitely there. And I think many vampires. I mean, when I think of vampires who I think have sort of copied Barnabas, not Keith Sutherland's character from Lost Boys, but the boy who gets bit. That guy. He's sort of a sympathetic vampire in a way. He's not quite Barnabas, but he is a sympathetic vampire. Vampire Hunter D, if you will. Blade. Edward Cullen from Twilight, Angel. We have seen I dare say, but Dracula and Barnabas, those two vampires have been copied and pasted the most when it comes to vampires because Dracula set a standard, but you best believe Jonathan Fritz Barnabas set one hell of a standard for vampires going forward, and he really did. He set this whole new standard of, hey, you don't just have to be a monster. There's a craft to this you can do. And he does it. He just beautifully, I might add. And another one of my favorite scenes, too, that before he goes back to 1897, we see him, they say about change, and Hoffman's face is like, change. he knows he knows what it's gonna be. He knows he's gonna have to be a vampire again. And once he sees that chain coffin, he goes through that door. That decision by Barnabas is so huge. Like for him to literally go through the door and know, I gotta do this. I gotta do what I can to help these kids. So I'm doing it. And it's Barnabas really, he defines himself as a hero, uh, right here, really. If he didn't before, he damn sure does here. And I think one of the moments really he defines himself as a hero too is when he goes back to 1796 to save Victoria Winters once again. Again, great moment. And there are just so many great moments of Barnabas. One of my favorite moments in the Leviathan arc is when he burns down the shop. It's a mix of sinister and good, clean fun by Barnabas Collins and Jonathan Fred's character. No breathing water come from any room ever again. He dumps the gasoline. I love it. I love it. What a performance. Look, you guys know my favorite character is Victoria Winters. My second favorite character is Barnabas Collins. But if it weren't for Jonathan Fred, if it weren't for this character, Dark Shadows became huge because of Fred's performance and because of Barnabas and just the way this character was done. And I look, I love the beginning episodes. I watch it from the beginning through. And with Barnabas, when you get to Barnabas, it's like it's it literally is like a whole other. It's not. I don't want to say whole new journey, but it feels that way. It's like a whole other journey, not so much onto itself, but it adds a whole other journey to what the beginning was. It feels. It just feels so right, it feels like it was just meant to be. I know, you know, I've heard lightning in a bottle, sure, and I'm not denying that it is, but it feels like fate lined up here. Fate lined up for Fred, for the writers, for Dan Curtis. Here was this, you know, trained actor, and all the other actors and actresses were trained too. They knew what they were doing. But here comes this actor, this trained actor, who just comes on and everybody just clicks together. And it's an amazing performance by Fred. I can't say enough about the character, obviously. Look, and yeah, really, Fred's performance is golden. I mean, when you say who's my favorite vampire, definitely it's Jonathan Fred's Barnabas Collins. He's number one from the vampire list for sure. I'm not going to put anybody above him ever. And I do mean that ever. I don't care who comes along. Um, just look, they're all second fiddle to me, and that's not just me being a Dark Shadows homer. So if you want to accuse me of that, you can. But it is what it is. So on this day, 1967, Barnabas Collins debuted actor, Canadian-born actor Jonathan Fred. What a performance! And so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to get it up. Um, wow, just amazing. I'll see you guys. You guys have a good night.